Hey folks, welcome to Oregon Cash Flow Pro. My name is James Barber and I'm here to help you maximize your cash flow. One of our viewers had a question and he said, new to the channel here, so apologize if this was covered before. From a personal finance standpoint, would you ever justify financing a small amount on a new ATV? For my family/farm, this would be more of a tool than a toy. I've always bought our vehicles equipment used and always with cash. We do have the cash to pay outright for the new ATV without dipping into our emergency fund, but it would deplete most of our regular cash accounts. My thought would be to put a significant $5,000 to $6,000 down and then finance a few thousand for a year or two. He was quoted an APR of 3.9% at his local credit union. So he was going to do that just for the peace of mind and could pay it off at any time with a bonus or when an investment sells. Or maybe he should just keep holding out on a used model. So that was an excellent question, and it was something that I went through. It was a decision-making process that I went through just recently when I bought that. So I just picked that up a few weeks ago, bought it brand new. I looked around for used, and really, for the most part, all of the used machines that I could find, 5 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, they're all going for around $4,000 or $5,000. And I could pick up a brand new one with everything that I wanted on it. Hasn't been driven, hasn't been used. I get to do all the break-in. It comes with a warranty. I was able to pick that up for right at $8,000. I also got a significant discount off of the MSRP in order to do that. So that was a factor that played in as well. So yes, I opted to go new for that reason. But also when you look at what financing is available, you get a little bit better rate on your new ATV financing. So part of my decision making had to entail, do I want to pay cash or do I want to finance? And truth be told, I had looked at the local rates, and the rates that I was expecting to find out there were 6 or 7% on a new ATV. And so I was all ready to pay cash. There's a couple other things that factor into that decision, but I had the money and I was ready to just pay for it, get it over with quickly, and then I would decide on if I wanted to get a loan against it down the road if I had to do that. I got to the dealership and I realized I forgot my checkbook. So I couldn't just write a check. The dealership was 2 hours away from my house and where my checkbook was. And they don't take a credit card without adding in an extra 3% fee. So on $8,000, you're talking an extra $240. I didn't want to pay an extra $240 just to run it on a credit card and pay it off within the next 30 days. Not really worth it to me. So I checked where my local bank was. My local bank was 20 minutes away, which means I would have had to drive 20 minutes there and 20 minutes back. It's a 40-minute drive. I asked him how long it would take to look into doing the financing, and it was pretty similar to that. So confident that I would qualify for some type of a loan, I said, let's look into that. So I filled out the paperwork, and I ended up getting an offer of 4.49% for up to 60 months. And no income verification. For a self-employed person like myself, no income verification is pretty nice. Usually, when it comes to being self-employed, you've got to give the last couple of years' tax return. You basically have to show your bank account information. You've got to prove that you have the income you do. You don't just have a pay stub that you can show. You don't just have a W-2 that you can show. So there's a few extra hoops to jump through, and it's kind of annoying. That's why I was looking at just paying cash, because I didn't want to have to worry about that. But the offer that they got for me was from another credit union in a few towns away from ours that I didn't even know existed. And so I didn't know what rates they had. And it was a really good rate, 4.49%. That's a rate that I'm happy with. So I was able to get that rate up to 60 months, which meant the payments on this thing, I didn't have to put any money down, and the payments were going to be like $160 a month. So for me, that was a pretty good deal. I opted to go for that route. One, it saved me a trip to the bank to go get my checkbook. It saved me money from having to get a credit card or having to swipe a credit card and paying the extra fees that go along with that. And three, I didn't have my equity locked up in the ATV. So this is another major factor in the decision on whether you want to pay cash or you want to finance. You're going to have an opportunity cost that goes along with that cash that you decide to pay. What else could you be doing with that money? If you're paying cash, then you had it sitting around either in a checking or a savings account, and it was probably earning a slight bit of interest. Maybe you had it in another investment, and maybe you've got to cash out that investment in order to buy. Whatever the case may be, you've got to figure out what is the opportunity that I have with that cash if I didn't use it to buy the ATV. For me, I have infinite bank accounts that I know I'm going to earn 4 to 6% on over the long haul. So if I pull money out of those accounts to pay cash for this, then that opportunity cost is going to be around 6%. For me to get a loan on this at 4.49% is practically a no-brainer, because then I can just leave my money sitting in my infinite bank account earning more than that. Now I've got to consider, do I just want an ATV sitting around with equity in it that really doesn't do me any good? I'm not a big fan of unused equity, whether it's in my house, in my vehicles, or in my toys. So in this case, an $8,000 ATV, I would rather pay somebody slowly $160 a month at a really good interest rate and have the opportunity to put that cash into an investment. So in this case, I'm on the search for rental properties. I'm ready to buy a rental property. I would much rather have that $8,000 to go into a rental property, help me with the money down there, or doing any type of repairs if I can find something that's a fixer-upper. I would rather have the money available for that. I can always pay it off at any time if I wanted to. So if I'm sitting on the cash, I can decide to just pay it off if that ends up being a better option. For me, going with the financing expands the options that I have, not just today, but down the road as well. So if you're sitting on that cash, you always have the opportunity to pay it off. If you have an investment opportunity, you still have the cash and you're able to invest. So I'm happy to pay 4.49% for that. With this viewer's question, he had 3.49% on the table available. That's a great rate. I would definitely look hard and see if you can't do better than that with your funds outside of your ATV, outside of locking it up as equity inside your ATV. So that's my suggestion. Is for a lot of people, the answer to that question is going to be personal. Would you rather not have payments? Some people just want to be out of debt, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as you know, this channel is about maximizing your cash flow. And if we're going to lock up our money in equity when we have the opportunity to get a low interest loan, that's not maximizing your cash flow, in my opinion. So I definitely advise to look hard at other options and take advantage of cheap money. If somebody's willing to give you cheap money and in exchange you're gonna secure it with one of your assets, I think that's a pretty good deal. Especially if you have the cash sitting around that you could pay it off at any point. Or if you have the cash sitting in your infinite bank policy growing. Or if you have the cash sitting in the stock market and it's growing. The only difference is you wanna make sure that if you've got to pull that cash out of the stock market, that the market isn't down at the time. That's kind of a risk that you're going to take there, but odds are at a low interest rate, you're going to get a low payment, and the odds of you having to pull it out for that reason are not very high. So I would definitely rather have the money working. That's my answer. Hope it helps. I look forward to you sharing whatever decision you end up making. If you have any questions about your situation, put them in the comment section below. You can email me, just go to my website, OregonCashflowPro.com, and we have a contact form there. I'm happy to help you out. In the meantime, check out our other videos right over here. We'll see you next time. Now go maximize your cash flow.